This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore. Today's video is brought to you by ShipStation. In just a minute, I'm going to talk about an offer exclusive to my audience that I truly believe could be beneficial to you. Before I get to that, though, obviously, you know what the title of this video is. You know what the topic of the video is. Yesterday, Steve Bannon was wasn't officially held in contempt of Congress, but the initial vote in the House Select Committee took place. 9-0 was the vote, and it will be forwarded on to a full House vote this Thursday. When that vote passes, I'm giving all the procedurals. I was going to do this later in the video. When that happens, then it'll be forwarded on. Once it passes in the House, it'll be forwarded on to the Justice Department, and then they'll decide what to do. But I wanted to address a tweet. Somebody tweeted at me, Brock Rashawn. I can't remember if it was Dollemore or Farron Cousins that said nothing would be done after Steve Bannon defied a subpoena from the January 6th Select Committee. I'm glad to say you were wrong. I'm glad to say that one of us was wrong. I don't think it was me, though. I don't even know whether it was Farron or not. I don't watch his videos because I don't have time, just as I'm sure he does not watch mine. But I want to, maybe in the fashion of tooting my own horn, I did not say that. In fact, I have some screenshots here from from thumbnails of videos. September 23rd, did a video. Steve Bannon admits planning January 6th insurrection, or at least taking part in planning. We don't have that many words in the thumbnail. October 1st, will Steve Bannon see some consequences? That was in a voicemail question to me. October 11th, Steve Bannon defies the January 6th subpoena. That was an official. Talked about the official happening of that. And then October 15th, just recently, I said Steve Bannon will be held in criminal contempt. So again, maybe it's just a little braggadocious of me, but I pegged this all along. And it is a good thing. It is finally Congress understanding that they have some teeth, that they can make something happen relative to consequence for people who defy the power of the United States Congress. And I'm going to get to all of that. I've got clips from Benny Thompson and Liz Cheney I want to play and talk about. Before I do that, though, word from today's sponsor, ShipStation. It's mid-October, and we are already knee-deep in the holiday season. One thing that means is merchandise, and a lot of it. Even for a modest small business, there will be thousands of packages that must go out the door, and all in the next 2 months. In order to get this done right, sign up for ShipStation. It's the internet's #1 option if you sell products online. ShipStation allows smaller businesses like ours to access the same rates available to Fortune 500 companies without exclusive contracts or any commitments. And they work with all major carriers, so you can compare the FedEx rate to the United States Postal Service rate to the DHL rate and pick your best option. Up your shipping game and defeat holiday shipping stress with ShipStation. Head to shipstation.com/Dollemore and you can try ShipStation for free for 60 days. That's 2 months of easy shipping this holiday season for free. Ship more in less time and for a lot less money. Over 100,000 online sellers use ShipStation and love it for its ability to automate almost any shipping task. And ShipStation's intuitive dashboard allows you to combine all your sales channels into one place. You can't afford not to use it. So get ahead of the holidays this year with ShipStation. You'll have 60 days to use it free if you sign up at shipstation.com/Dollemore. What else are you going to get for free this holiday season? Use ShipStation and make ship happen. Thanks to ShipStation for sponsoring this video. Listen, let's get into this. Yesterday, the vote was held. They did it in prime time. I believe that was not by accident. The committee met and some statements were given by the chairman and the vice chairwoman, Liz Cheney and Benny Thompson. And they said some poignant things. One was the purpose for the vote. And the other was Liz Cheney. I think maybe more importantly was Liz Cheney's comments really laying out the case as to why exactly it's important to hold him in contempt because of the seriousness of the alleged offenses, the allegations against him. Let's start with Benny Thompson, chairman, Democrat of Mississippi, in his opening statements. There's 3 sections here. I'm going to split them up. You'll see where the marker is. We'll do a white flash or something to delineate that it's not all one thing. This is edited because there are some portions I don't think are super relevant. Watch this.
Let me start by saying that it gives me no joy that I've been forced to call this meeting. I think my colleagues feel the same way. The expectation of this committee is that all witnesses will cooperate with our investigation. Witnesses who have been subpoenaed have a legal obligation to do so. And when you think about what we're investigating, a violent attack on the seat of our democracy perpetrated by fellow citizens on our Constitution, an attempt to stop the certification of an election. It's shocking to me, shocking that anyone would not do anything in their power to assist our investigation. So it's a shame that Mr. Bannon has put us in this position, but we won't take no for an answer. We believe Mr. Bannon has information relevant to our probe, and we'll use the tools at our disposal to get that information. For folks watching at home this evening, I want you to think about something. What would happen to you if you did what Mr. Bannon is doing? If you were a material witness in a criminal prosecution or some other lawsuit, what would happen if you refused to show up? Do you think you'd be able to just go about your business? We all know the answer to that. There isn't a different set of rules for Mr. Bannon. He knows this. He knows that there are consequences for outright defiance, and he's chosen the path toward criminal contempt by taking this position. And there are better matters at stake. One of the major questions the Select Committee is dealing with is whether the rule of law will be able to endure as a pillar of American democracy. After all, we've seen the rule of law put to the test repeatedly in our recent past. Mr. Bannon will comply with our investigation, or he will face the consequences. Maybe he's willing to be a martyr to the disgraceful cause of whitewashing what happened on January 6th, or demonstrating his complete loyalty to the former president. So I want our witnesses to understand something very plainly. If you're thinking or following the path Mr. Bannon has gone down, you are on notice that this is what you'll face. The process we begun tonight is a grave one. It seldom happens, and we'd rather avoid it altogether. But it's not reserved just for Steve Bannon. If other witnesses defy this committee, if they fail to cooperate, we will be back in this room with a new report with the names of whoever else mistakenly believes that they are above the law.
So starting with the sober manner with which they are attacking this. This isn't a political witch hunt like Steve Bannon and Donald Trump would have you believe. This is getting to the truth, and they're taking it very seriously. And I also like the fact that he brings up, imagine if you did this and you defied Congress or any other legally issued subpoena, what would happen to you at home? It's a poignant question because many Americans look at what has happened over the course of the last 5 years and ask the question, just as I do on an almost daily basis here on this channel, what happened to consequences? That it is just acceptable now that if you are in a position of power, if you have money and influence, that you are not held to account when you commit serious crimes, in this case, grave crimes against our very republic, an attempted subversion of our democracy. These are serious things. This isn't just financial impropriety, which is serious enough. This is an attack on the physical structure that represents our democracy. The threats of murder and assassination of vice presidents and Speaker of the House. And he's doing a good job here. They are dealing with this with the respect, the reverence, the seriousness that they should. And then wrapping it up with the warning to not only Steve Bannon, but also the members of his cohort who might think it wise to defy. That if you want to be a martyr for Donald Trump, have at it, brother. It's not going to work out well for you. Because the days of Donald Trump of acting with impunity are over. The rule of law will stand. Consequences will be doled out. I'd love to know what you think about Benny Thompson here, his performance. I don't mean that this is a performance, but he is performing his duty. And I'd love to know. Moving on to Liz Cheney, the Republican vice chairwoman of this committee, who gave up her leadership role in the United States House of Representatives in the minority party because of her stance for, in this case, the truth. This is not to heap praise upon Ms. Cheney. She represents horrible politics, damaging politics. But when it comes to the salvation of our nation, she's doing the right thing. And she lays out the serious case against Steve Bannon and what exactly is at stake. Watch this.
On January 6th, a mob breached the security perimeter of our Capitol, assaulted and injured more than 140 police officers, engaged in hand-to-hand violence over an extended period, and invaded and occupied the United States Capitol building, all in an effort to halt the lawful counting of electoral votes and reverse the results of the 2020 election. The day before this all occurred, on January 5th, Mr. Bannon publicly professed knowledge that, quote, all hell is going to break loose tomorrow, end quote. He forecast that the day would be, quote, extraordinarily different than what most Americans expected. He said to his listeners and his viewers, quote, so many people said, if I was in a revolution, I would be in Washington. Well, he said, this is your time in history. Based on the committee's investigation, it appears that Mr. Bannon had substantial advanced knowledge of the plans for January 6th and likely had an important role in formulating those plans. Mr. Bannon was in the war room at the Willard on January 6th. He also appears to have detailed knowledge regarding the president's efforts to sell millions of Americans the fraud that the election was stolen. In the words of many who participated in the January 6th attack, the violence that day was in direct response to President Trump's repeated claims from election night through January 6th that he had won the election. The American people are entitled to Mr. Bannon's firsthand testimony about all of these relevant facts. But as the chairman noted, Mr. Bannon is refusing to provide it. Preserving our Constitution and the rule of law is a central purpose of this investigation. The plain fact here is that Mr. Bannon has no legal right to ignore the committee's lawful subpoena. So far, Mr. Bannon's excuse is that former President Trump wishes to invoke some form of executive privilege for a subset of the relevant topics. President Trump's direct communications with Mr. Bannon regarding the planning for January 6th. This information should not be subject to any privilege at all. And certainly, there is no basis for absolute or unqualified privilege for for presidential communications. More important now, there is no conceivably applicable privilege that could shield Mr. Bannon from testimony on all of the many other topics identified in this committee's subpoena. Because he has categorically refused to appear, we have no choice but to seek consequences for Mr. Bannon's failure to comply. Those consequences are not just important for this investigation. They are important for all congressional investigations. Mr. Bannon's and Mr. Trump's privilege arguments do, however, appear to reveal one thing. They suggest that President Trump was personally involved in the planning and execution of January 6th. And this committee will get to the bottom of that.
It is that last part that I think is the most overwhelmingly damning in the case against both Donald Trump and Steve Bannon, is that they're asking that the communications that took place were privileged, meaning there were communications that took place. You don't declare executive privilege, which again, Donald Trump does not have, does not possess any longer as president of the United States. He is not president of the United States. He is an ex-president. But you don't invoke executive privilege over conversations that never happened. So by invoking of the executive privilege, they're admitting conversations took place relative to the planning and execution of the insurrection. They're saying there is something to hide here. There is something we don't want you to see. There is something grand to conceal. They're showing their hand. And this is a beautifully laid out case of what exactly is at stake, what took place, and what they need to prevent, which is their objective. The objective of the investigation. Anyway, I'd love to know what you guys think. I appreciate your time. You can call, leave me a brief voicemail, 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me daily at dollemore.com. We're getting closer, folks, to consequence. We're getting closer. For those of you, and there's been many in the comments, it's never going to happen. The more cynical outlook. Look, I understand it. I get it. We've just witnessed half a decade of no consequences for Donald Trump and his troop. I think it's natural to become a little disheartened, a little cynical. But you need to keep up the faith. Keep hope alive in this case, because they're getting it done. As I, with my many screenshots earlier of tooting my horn, illustrated that I have kept up the faith. Anyway, follow me on social media. I would absolutely love to connect with you there. I am at Dollemore just about everywhere, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. And if you appreciate what I do, if what I do brings you some value, please consider supporting my work here on the platform for as little as $1.99 per month. You become a channel member, click on the join button, become a channel member, see what's involved, or you can go over to patreon.com/IDoubtIt podcast. I sure do love you guys. I appreciate you. It is nice to share in these moments, these rarity of happy, hopeful moments. Anyway, I'll see you next time. Until I do, be genuine. Take care of one another.